On May 21st, 2021, South Korean Air Force Sergeant Lee Yeram unexpectedly committed suicide in her military dormitory. But this was no ordinary suicide. Just before leaving this world, she left behind a video exposing everything she had endured during her service, what drove her to commit suicide. Even more tragic was the fact that the day she chose to end everything was also the day of her wedding to her loyal boyfriend. When this information was made public, it caused a massive outcry in South Korea, leading to nearly 400,000 people signing a petition demanding a thorough investigation. What exactly was in that video she left? Why did she decide to take her life on her wedding day? And who would be held accountable? Lee Yeram, a proud female sergeant of the South Korean Air Force. On May 21st, 2021, Lee and her fiancé officially registered their marriage. That evening, they celebrated with a dinner at an upscale restaurant. After dinner, her husband had to work a night shift, so Lee drove him to his workplace. She was still smiling, still acting as normal as any other day. Past 11 p.m., Liam opened the fridge and took out the meal she had prepared for her husband the next morning. She placed the meal on the table, adjusted the lid, then picked up her phone and sent her husband a familiar message. "Good night, see you tomorrow." But this time, there was no "see you tomorrow." Right after sending the message, she set her phone down, turned on the camera, and recorded the final moments of her life. "I tried to fight. I followed the procedures, but no one stood by my side. I was betrayed, forced into silence. I can't bear it anymore." The next morning, at 6:30 a.m., her husband finished his shift and returned home. However, the moment he opened the door, a horrifying scene unfolded before his eyes. Liam was lying motionless on the floor. She had taken her own life. Her body was ice cold. Her husband immediately called her family, still unable to believe what was in front of him. The room was neat, with no signs of struggle or disorder. It was as if Liam had planned everything in advance. But the most haunting thing wasn't her body. It was the phone lying next to her, its screen still lit, displaying an unwatched video. From here, the veil of secrecy, or rather the reason behind this tragedy, began to unravel. Lee Yeram was not an ordinary girl. From the time she was young, people couldn't help but notice her. She had a natural beauty and an aura that could rival any celebrity. Talent scouts even approached her more than once, inviting her to join the entertainment industry. Her friends never understood why she refused. She could have been a famous actress, living in luxury, adored by millions. Fame, money, opportunities. It could have all come easily to her. But to Yeram, fame meant nothing. She had a different dream, one that had nothing to do with flashing cameras or red carpets. She wanted to be a soldier. And she didn't just dream about it. She worked for it, with every ounce of perseverance and effort she had. And eventually, she achieved it. She became a female officer in the South Korean Air Force, a position very few women ever reached. In 2017, Lee Yeram officially joined the 20th Fighter Wing of the South Korean Air Force, one of the most prestigious and elite units in the entire country. Established in December 1996, the 20th Fighter Wing wasn't just another unit. It was the pride of the Air Force, often participating in joint military exercises with the U.S., a sign of its strategic importance. For any soldier being selected to serve, there was an honor. For Yeram, it was more than that. It was the first major step toward becoming the exceptional military officer she had always dreamed of being. She believed she was finally moving toward her life's purpose. But she didn't know her nightmare was about to begin. Because she was a woman in a male-dominated environment, Yeram quickly became the center of attention. Her striking beauty, her openness, and her strong-willed personality made her admired by some, but also the target of unwanted gazes. At first, it was nothing more than harmless flirting, or so it seemed. But when she politely declined those advances, the smiles faded. The gazes changed. They were no longer friendly. Yeram didn't want to be the subject of gossip or false rumors, so she started keeping her distance. She spoke less, smiled less, and even brought her boyfriend to the base, hoping that it would send a clear message to the men who wouldn't leave her alone. It worked for most of them, but not for everyone. Sergeant Zhang was one of the few who refused to back off. He was older, more experienced, and had enlisted before her, and he used that senior-junior dynamic to stay close. At first, it was just jokes and small talk she didn't want to hear, but then it stopped being just words. He began invading her personal space, brushing against her shoulder, staring too long while she changed in the training room. It made her skin crawl. Yeram tried to avoid him, but he always found an excuse to approach her. At a company event, Zhang drank heavily. Even though they were surrounded by people, he openly made inappropriate advances toward her. No one stepped in. Yeram had no choice but to push him away. "Don't ever touch me again," she shouted. The room fell silent. All eyes were on her, and still no one said a word. Zhang's pride was shattered in front of everyone, and from that moment he held a grudge. Yeram began avoiding him more than ever. She knew he wasn't the type to forgive. Then one day, her superior, Warrant Officer No, approached her out of nowhere. They barely spoke before, so she was cautious. "I want you to accompany me to a party," he said, giving no room for refusal. "There will be many high-ranking officers. You should take this opportunity." Yeram immediately declined. She didn't need this kind of opportunity. But his tone changed instantly. His friendly smile was gone. "Do you think you have the right to refuse me? I'm your superior. Do you know what will happen if you defy me? Your future in the military could end immediately." It wasn't a suggestion, it was a threat. Feeling cornered, Yeram reluctantly agreed, though she couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. At the party, she stayed on guard. She didn't drink a drop of alcohol. When Warrant Officer No announced he had to leave early, she saw her chance to slip away too. But before she could go, Sergeant Zhang appeared, clearly drunk. His eyes were bloodshot. His breath reeked of alcohol. "I drank too much. I can't drive home. Can you take me?" he slurred. She didn't want to. Every part of her wanted to say no. But if he drove himself, there could be an accident. She also didn't want to cause a scene in front of everyone, so she agreed. That decision changed everything. While driving on a deserted road, Yang suddenly forced her to stop the car. Before she could react, he attacked her, ignoring her screams and struggles. She fought with everything she had, but she couldn't escape. She returned to base in shock. It felt unreal. But it wasn't a nightmare. It had happened. She decided she couldn't stay silent. The next morning, she went to Warrant Officer No. and reported everything. He pretended to be sympathetic. "I understand, Yeram. I'll report this to the higher-ups. Don't worry, Zhang will be punished." For a moment, she felt relief. She believed him, but it was all a lie. As soon as she left his office, No called Zhang to warn him. If this got out, No could be implicated too. That evening, Zhang showed up in front of Yeram, smirking. He threatened her. If she didn't drop it, he'd tell her fiancé what really happened in the car. She confronted No again, demanding answers. This time, he didn't bother pretending. "This isn't anything new," he sneered. "Did you really think you could serve in the military without facing things like this?" Her heart sank. She realized no one was going to help her. But she wasn't ready to give up. She retrieved the dashcam footage from her car. It was undeniable proof of what Yang had done. She took it to the military police, believing that this time justice would be served. But again, she was wrong. The military police accepted her complaint but took no action. No arrest, no suspension, nothing. Instead, they summoned her for questioning, over and over, forcing her to relive the assault in excruciating detail. It took more than 2 weeks before they finally called in Zhang. The questioning was quick, casual, and then they let him go. Finally, the investigation results came back. Zhang denied everything. "I was drunk. I don't remember anything," he claimed, and shockingly, the military police accepted this. "There's not enough evidence," they concluded. "No punishment, just a transfer to another unit, a meaningless gesture." The Air Force wanted the case buried to protect its image. Yeram's hope crumbled. She took a 2-month medical leave to recover. But Yang didn't stop. He called her constantly, harassing her. The military police even sent people to pressure her into dropping the complaint. "Pretend like nothing happened. Don't ruin your future," they told her. When she refused, the threats became personal. "We'll tell your family everything." She wasn't afraid for herself, but she couldn't bear the thought of her family suffering. She endured alone. On May 18th, when her medical leave ended, she returned to the base, only to be told she had been transferred to the 15th Fighter Wing. No explanation, no warning. She tried to accept it, hoping for peace. But news of the assault had already spread. Wherever she went, she felt the stares. She heard the whispers, and when it became too much to bear, Yeram decided to end it all. Liam had been sexually assaulted by her own comrades, and when she reported it, no one helped her. The perpetrators were not only unpunished, they also conspired to defame her, making her feel like a troublemaker, someone to be scorned. She felt that her body had been tainted, that she was no longer worthy of her fiancé. Death, she believed, was the only way to atone for what she thought was her fault. In the video, Lee Yeram didn't just expose those who destroyed her life. She also spoke about herself, about the things that made her strong, but also made her a target for merciless suppression. When news of Yam's death spread, the South Korean military immediately tried to suppress information. The Ministry of National Defense dismissed her death as a small, isolated incident. A brief statement was posted on the official website of the South Korean Air Force. No apology, no real investigation. Her family, however, could not accept this injustice. Her father refused to let his daughter be forgotten. In the depths of his grief, he submitted a petition to the Blue House, demanding justice for his daughter. This petition was not just a plea for help, it was an indictment. He accused those involved in his daughter's death and demanded that the truth be brought to light before the public. Immediately, the case sent shockwaves throughout South Korea. No one could believe that such brutality existed within a prestigious military unit like the South Korean Air Force. Within 2 days, nearly 400,000 people signed the petition to take action against those responsible. Under immense public pressure, the South Korean Ministry of National Defense had no choice but to act. Within 2 days, Sergeant Zhang was urgently arrested. He had nowhere left to run. During the investigation, Zhang not only confessed to all accusations, he also revealed that he had assaulted another female soldier before. The pressure continued to mount. Mass protests erupted across the country, demanding severe punishment. The media continuously exposed loopholes in the military system. In the end, Sergeant Zhang was sentenced to 9 years in prison, a harsher sentence than previous cases, but still not enough to appease public outrage. But there was still one major issue: those who covered up the case, the powerful figures who ignored the crime, who silenced Yeram. They faced no punishment. Yam's father understood this. he decided to take things further. He hired a lawyer to sue those involved for deliberately concealing the truth. They could not escape. They had to be held accountable. During the investigation, the lawyer uncovered a horrifying truth. Liam was not only attacked by Jang, several other senior officers were also involved. The pressure on the South Korean military leadership became unbearable. Someone had to take responsibility. The Chief of Staff of the South Korean Air Force, General Leong, was forced to resign. He had known everything, but did nothing. The Minister of National Defense was also forced to issue a public apology and take accountability before the nation. For the first time in history, a sexual assault case in the military forced high-ranking officials to face responsibility. The case was so serious that even former South Korean President Moon Jae-in had to publicly address it in his speech. He emphasized the importance of ensuring safety and protecting the rights of those serving in the military. Leah Yeram sacrificed her life to expose this brutal reality. She did not die in vain. But did this truly expose all the dark corners of the military? Or was it merely a small glimpse into an even greater mystery? If you found this story helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to stay updated with more gripping cases. Stay with us, and see you in the next video.